I've been long anticipating this one. So, let's jump straight into it. Growth, development. Mankind has developed and grown for thousands of years, yet they are degenerating just the same. Technology has expanded so, vigorously, but still, unhappiness is just the same. We have so much access to innumerable concepts, innumerable ways to become enlightened, yet our unenlightened state of being and our incessantly painful existence is just the same. What is implied in a person who is trying to grow psychologically? And in listening, in seeing, and being attentive and being aware, is there choice at all? To me, choice implies time. Time to choose between this and that. The divided state of being, the separated state of being of choosing this versus choosing that. In the mechanical realm, in the realm of knowledge, in the realm of that which is limited, knowledge is always limited, right? Yes, there is a choice, and yes, there is time. But no one ever asks the question, is there a living that is without choice, and therefore without effort, and therefore without any time? Choice involves becoming things. Choice involves the expansion of the I, the expansion of my selfish desires, the expansion, the growth of my spiritual ego. But all these people that grow in their spiritual ego are pitiful. They haven't grown at all. In thinking that they can develop one's own psychology, they just become more dull, deteriorated. They memorize more and more things out of books, out of methods, out of concepts, and then what happens? It just becomes an ideal. So growth, evolution, expansion, all of these things psychologically is all ideals. Now, what is an ideal, folks? An ideal is not an ideal that which is separated from what is. Is not an ideal something I run to because I'm not comfortable with who I am and what I am, therefore I create all these ideals of myself. I create this ideal of beautiful living. I create this ideal of love, this ideal of intelligence, and I'm always trying to reach to this point, never living as such now. In love, there is no ideal. Love doesn't concern itself with idealisms. Same with intelligence. Same with awareness. Same with attention. Is time involved in attention and awareness? Do I take time to be aware of something? Do I take time to give my attention? No, in the process of taking time to give my attention, I'm inattentive during that time. Does one take time to become nonviolent? Or is the whole time trying to escape away from violence, violence? So the question of, is there any time at all? If I am violent, I am violent. If I am not violent, I am not violent. It is that simple. There is no time or choice involved in the matter. But most people endlessly are going from anger to 20 minutes later, I'm sorry I was angry. Never once facing their anger and dying to their anger, dying to their psychological degeneration at once. Living is done at once. It's not something you choose each second of the way. In no choice, one lives. In choice, one is confused. So again, let's disclaim that, right? Because people are so caught up in my control, my will, my desire, my all of these things. But what's at the root of my control, my choice, my will, my desire? It's the limited idea of the me. It's the fears, the pains, the pleasures, all of the accumulated, again, over time, processes that I've developed of me. So again, I ask the question, is there choice in love? Does one choose to love? Or when one loves, there's no choice at all? When one absolutely embraces nature with barefoot, with bare hands, and just comes down on nature and hugs nature and just appreciates nature, is there a choice in that? In my care for the world, is there a choice in that? In my care for the community, is there a choice in that? No, because there is no choice, I act a certain way. If I kept concerning myself with this choice and that choice, I would never act. I would be so concerned with my choices that I would never make right action now. And so again, we come back to virtue and what is right. If I am choosing to become a spiritual person, if I'm choosing to do what is right, that's wrong. Doing the right thing has no choice in it. It means one has recognized what choice means. One has recognized what this limited time bound creation means, this thought means, and one has seen that all degenerative factors, all horrible things have come in thought. All shortcomings arise in thought, arise in me, arise in I. And people are so exaggerated in I, they're so caught up in thought, they never just act without I. So we return to art, and again, doing the right thing, being virtuous. Virtue is an action, not a thought, not a choice. Do you think a samurai has a choice when he slays his enemy, when he defends himself perfectly, or when he dies? Do you think he has a choice? You think choice is what is motivating him? Or do you think being a samurai means to swing without a choice? That if there was a choice, a confusion, a hesitation, a time interval involved in my swing would be incomplete. In the same sense, in trying to choose to be more aware, choose to be more attentive, choose to listen better, one is not listening, aware, or attentive. One does not choose to love. One does not choose to care. Choosing is a process of thought, confusion, calculation, mechanical, methodical, degenerative. So in not choosing at all, one remains with the right choice. Which means the right choice is no choice at all. Peace has no choice at all. One can choose to be in war. One can choose to be in conflict, but not to have any conflict between this choice and that has no choice at all. So, what do they do when they bring you into an ashram or a yoga center or whatever? They'll tell you, follow this method, follow this practice. And only if you follow this practice, you will attain spiritual enlightenment. Only if you choose, only if you grow, only if you develop, based on our time, based on our method, based on our control, based on our will, based on our desire, will you achieve so-called enlightenment. Disgusting. All methods out of books that tell you to follow some sort of a path, right? Which means something created in memory, something created in thought, something created in time, something that is limited, disgusting and degenerate. The path to truth is no choice at all. There is no path that memory lays down to truth. There is no path in time to truth, which means the only path to truth is no time at all, no choice at all. I see something and I act, and there is no interval. Once you introduce an interval, there's choice, there's degeneration, there's conflict between this and that. Decision, decisive, right? Means to cut. There's always cutting and breaking up and fragmenting. So again, a tree develops. The body develops, grows, all of these things. Because the body, the form, the physical state of being, yes, has time. But psychologically, not being contaminated, not being confused, being still, right? Or not being disturbed, being completely uncorrupt, being totally aware, has no time. There is no time until I will become aware. That, again, is unawareness during that time. So do you see this, right? See the distinction. My body grows. But me being peaceful in my mind is not a process of growth. Right? One is violent or one is peaceful. There's no growth from violent to peaceful. So again, my body grows. Time is ticking. But right action has no time. Clear thinking, clarity is timeless. Attention, love, awareness is timeless. If there was time involved in awareness, again, it wouldn't be awareness. It wouldn't be love. It wouldn't be care. It wouldn't be intelligent. Again, all these methods of gurus, of memorization, of reading books, of reading this, of reading that, studying this text against that text, all choice, all interpretation, all time, all degeneration. Everyone's method to become enlightened is futile, degenerative, and a process of thought. So don't accept what I'm saying. Again, see for yourself. Stop trying to look at someone or listen to someone so that they can see for you. Stop being irresponsible. There is no choice. You can't choose to not love someone and then choose to love someone later. This is what's happening in relationships, guys. People at one point deal with someone in a violent fashion, in a forceful fashion, in a very distasteful fashion, and then later on they say, I'll choose to deal with them better later. How disgusting is that? How truly disgusting and revolting is that? So, in confronting oneself, and in being able to confront oneself, in confronting another, one has no choice. One listens. If you were listening with a choice, that wouldn't be listening. That would be partial listening, which is concentration, which is exclusion, which is thought, which is fear, which is limited, which is separation. If one listens without a choice, that means everything must come in. Good, bad, ugly, truth, false. Everything must be listened to. And because there is complete listening, one can see when something is false. So some people keep saying, but but choice is the most important thing. If you couldn't choose, you wouldn't have free will. And if you don't have free will, then you're an NPC. Well, then let's go into the word free will. Again, isn't will a process of time, a process of effort, a process of the me? So, in the pursuit of happiness and in the pursuit of pleasure, haven't we found that the problems still exist? We have so many choices, but we're still drowning in choices. We're still degenerating with all these choices. We think if we had all the choices in the world, there would be no problem. But actually, it's the opposite way around. Problem only comes from choice. Degeneration, issues only come from thought. If one stopped thinking, or if one thought minimally, if one saw the total unimportance of exaggerated thought, exaggerated me, exaggerated aggrandization of myself, of my choice, of my will, of my effort, all of these things, and trying to take credit for everything, if one just could see, again, thought would be pruned to a minimum, to a bare minimum. But some people, they think living is thinking my life away. They never let life happen to them. They never just see what life is. And because they're always thinking, they're always unclear. They're always unsatisfied. They're always, in some sense, thinking disgusting. Their thinking is contaminated. Because again, I'm always so focused on what I think about life, I never meet life as it is. It's just like pain. I don't have to think about pain. Thinking my pain away is illusion, is idealism, is again, bullshit. But when I sit with my pain without a choice, my pain must disappear. In sitting with it, in not escaping it, in not thinking about something else other than my pain and creating a separation, and slyly, again with thought, again with memory, again with time, creating some ideal outside of pain, I can actually deal with my pain. Right? So it's not about my trying to give all my energy to become enlightened. Rather, it's when I stop trying to become anything at all, this energy is retained without choice. Choice is the diffusion and dissipation of all my energy. That when I move without choice, there is no option but to act, but to move, but to do, but to, feed the family, but to cut down the firewood to stoke the fire. I don't have to complain. I don't have to worry. I don't have to think. I don't have to do any of these things. I just do. Again, what is organic means what is inherent, means what is in one's own nature. Again, inner nature, what that means, what does it mean when someone moves without choice? Means there is flow. Means choice is thought realizes that choice realizes it is so limited that in leaving choice aside, it lets the world decide for it. Not in some NPC sense, but again, when I fight against my enemy, to hit him such that I hit him so completely that I deflect and I defend myself so completely, right? Or just ask that question. When you defend yourself, do you have a choice? You must. So again, evolution, time, development, growth, all of these comes with a self-interested, egocentric, disgusting little parasite entity that always wants to become better than someone else or themselves. There's always an idea, right, of taking time and controlling it. Control can only exist in time. If there was no time, how could you control anything at all? So again, there is a use for this control, thought, time entity. There is a use for the body. But one must not mix up this body, right, with an intelligence that is nobody. That's not my intelligence, my better than you, all of this kind of stuff. It's just awareness. It's just attention. It's just seeing. It's not my seeing. It's not my conclusion versus your conclusion, my interpretation versus your interpretation, my choice versus your choice. Therefore, there is war between Muslims and Christians and Jews. I just see that war is futile. I just see that living an inorganic life is not natural, is not inherent, is not in nature, is not commonsensical. So again, common sense doesn't need a choice, doesn't need interpretation. It doesn't need any of these things. Because why? It is common. Even though my body is different, even though my experience is different, even though my conditioning, my this, my that, my privilege, my want, my fear, of course it's different, right? And I derive a sense of individuality from that. But seeing the facts is the same, is one. The truth is one. How life is one. How things are is one. It doesn't matter about your interpretation. It doesn't matter about your choice. It doesn't matter about your will. It doesn't matter about your desire. All of these things don't matter. What matters is what is. So people, can we see that? Can we see what is? Instead of all these delusional concepts of how things should be. When there is no choice and when there is no delusion, when there is no illusion, one remains with what is choicelessly. A sight unmoved like a rock in a river. That the body may change, the body may take time to heal and all of these things. But regeneration in the mind is not a process of development at all. One is regenerative or one is degenerate. There is no gap. There is no space. There is no time interval of becoming unconflicted. One is conflicted or one is not. One remains with conflict or one keeps creating ideas of not being conflicted. One keeps creating ideas of, of this spiritual concept, manifestation, all the intentions, all the useless. What is useful is remaining with what is. If I am violent right now, if I'm angry right now, if I'm egotistical right now, I remain with what that is. Because in remaining with what is, I have the entire whole, the entire spectrum, the totality of my being to see that there is violence, to see that there is war, that there is anger, that there is fear. And in seeing it completely, there is no time. There is no time I see and then I don't see. There is no time where I, again, see that I'm angry and then later I'm sorry that I'm angry. So what does it mean to be righteously angry? It means to be angry without a choice. Which means if someone keeps poking you, if someone keeps harassing you, if someone keeps attacking you, anger can be righteous. Doesn't mean it has to be filled with hate. Doesn't mean it has to be filled with separation. But in being a perfect reflectory mirror, in having no choice, it just returns all bad energy that was given to it effortlessly. That is how you become a samurai, is to see where my effort is futile. Once again, a card game. The best way to explain this: there's 100 cards in the deck, and I'm holding 10. So what, is there 90 left? Yeah, there's 90 left. I'm holding 10 cards. What I can do with these 10 cards is my choice. But the cards in the deck, the cards that are going to come into my hand later, the cards that are going to be played, is not my choice. So again, choice has a place, and this is art, right? When one realizes that choice is limited, when thought realizes that all of its seeking to become religious, it's creating a religion, it's, creating a method, creating all these things in time. It's incessant effort, it's incessant desire, it's incessant wants, incessant will. When it sees through itself, without time, with complete attention, complete awareness, there is no choice. There is no effort. There is no me. There is no me that neutralizes an enemy. It is humanity. It is consciousness. It's not my consciousness developing more than your consciousness. When there is love, there is a communication and a sharing of consciousness. There's a leveling. It's not I'm higher level than you. It's not, I have more profit than you. I'm better than you. I'm growing more than you. So can we see that all bad choices, all degenerative quality, the quality of destructiveness comes from this idea of thought developing itself, creating all these religions, creating all these wars, creating all these concepts, creating all these interpretations of religion. All of this, again, is thought created. The good and bad in this world, the ease and the dis-ease in this world is all thought. So when we can see that without a thought, then we can be free from the limitation that thought, right? In seeing that limited action that is me, that selfish, self-oriented, thinking process that is me, in seeing that pain is not my pain or your pain, but it is the pain of humanity. It is the hardship, the difficulty, the adversity of humanity. In seeing that without choice and being responsible for all of that without choice, there is an action that arises out of inaction. There is a choice that arises out of choicelessness. Yes, there is a will that arises out of no will at all. And again, we come back to water, that water is a flow of will, but it has no choice. It has no will. It has no resistance. Most people's will is resistance. So as long as we don't see through our own will, and we always say, I will see, we don't see now, there is always resistance. resistance to what is, resistance to the anger that is me, resistance to the violence that is me, resistance to the good, bad, and ugly that is me. And whenever there is this resistance, there is thought, there is an overgrowth, there is an exaggeration, and then there is degeneration, and then there is unhappiness. So again, if I can just cut down the me, if I can just look at me, if I can just see what I am and who I am without a resistance, without a thought, without a choice, without will, without effort, without all these all these useless things. If I could just look at myself, if I could just listen, love, be aware, be attentive, without a choice, without time, look at things now, there would be no need for conflict. There would be no need for confusion, which is choice. There would be no need for separation. There would be no need for all of these things, because I could just live my life now. I could just do the right thing now. Not talk about all these 7 virtues, not talk about all these vices, not talk about and create all these concepts of these things, not be so caught up in my mind, and just act right now. Just do the right thing now. See what is wrong now. See the violence in myself now, and stop creating a concept of heaven, of Godship, of all of these things outside of myself. So I never have to deal with myself. I never have to see myself. So that's enough. Those who get it will get it. Those who won't, won't. Those who listen will listen. Those who do not listen won't. Again, do I need memory? Do I need time? Do I need the process of me? Do I need choice to see? Or is seeing done without the me effortlessly? Is art a process of immense effort, of immense struggle, of immense conflict, caught up in time, or is art timeless? True art is choiceless. Again, it's when my will and no will collide and become one, and then there's no separation of my will, or there's no separation of my inorganic desire versus what is organic. Right? There's no idealism of becoming organic and I stay inorganic. When I effortlessly realize and see that what is inorganic is stupid, what is thought driven, what is self exaggerated, all of these concepts that I've built up, this time bound, memory bound concepts are stupid, then I love. Then I see. Then I listen. Then I care. Then I have compassion. Then I have space. I'm not so occupied in my mind with all these useless thoughts. I'm agile. I'm open. I'm ready to receive. I'm eager. I'm on my tippy toes. And again, I have died to will, to choice, so that I move choicelessly, without will, without effort, without all of these degenerative things that cause me to stop looking at how and being and living and acting and doing the right thing now. There will always be those who talk about all these immense concepts of Kundalini yoga, of manifesting my world and my reality, and using choice to, do all these great things, but they never act. They never do. and they never see. They never listen, they're never aware, they're never attentive, and so endlessly they will create problem, and endlessly they will base their lives on other people doing things that are good, that are, all of these things. Again, what is a parasite? A parasite requires a host. So what does it mean to not live with any parasitic entity in one's mind, to live completely organically, and again, to live completely without a thought and without a choice, which doesn't mean thought and choice can't come into the equation, but that, again, because one moves effortlessly, these things are already left out. These things are already cut out. It's already integrated. It's already worked in. The shadow is already worked in. There doesn't have to be an entity that does the shadow work. There doesn't have to be an entity that, again, develops psychologically. One is seeing or one is not. And it is that simple. One is hearing or one is not. One is aware or one is not. One is attentive or one is not. One is loving or one is not. One is violent or one is not. And a violent mind is a noisy mind, is a mind that can't get out of its own way to accomplish anything. It's a mind that can't get out of its own way to just see things as they are. And these kinds of minds, I'm afraid there is no use and there is no place in the Father's kingdom for these minds. Because these minds will always endlessly create images which are dead, concepts and methods which are dead of how to do the right thing. But they will never do it right. So see right now. Then you won't have to talk about seeing.